Hi there, this is Jane, and in this video I'm going to talk about what actually happens when you go and do a Rockschool exam. Now if you've never done one of these before, it can be a bit nerve-wracking, and if you have an idea of what's going to happen before you actually turn up, it'll make it a little bit easier. Okay, so the first tip I'm going to give you is make sure you know where the exam centre is long before the actual date of the exam. Okay, if you get lost on the day, you turn up late, puts more pressure on you. It's a stressful time as it is. You don't want to make it any worse. Okay, so you usually find out about your exam about 4 weeks in advance. So make sure you know how to get to where you're going. I've had loads of students turn up late and getting all stressed, and it makes it harder when you're actually in the exam. Okay, so once you get there, you can sit down and chill for a bit until your name's called up, and you usually get about 15 minutes to practice or to warm up before you actually go into the exam. Okay, now when you're in the practice room, don't be messing around with the amp and stuff, fiddling around with the settings, because you're not going to be in there for long. You might even have a different style of amp, different make of amp in the actual exam, so practicing with that amp isn't going to help. Okay, so maybe go through a few scales, do your other technical exercises, your riff, say. If you want to, play through your scales, your pieces. You'll probably be given a little CD player to stick your CD in from your book so that you can have practice along with the pieces before you go in. Okay, so when the examiner's ready for you, they'll come and get you, and then you go straight through to the exam room. Now when you get into the exam room, you can sit down, you can fiddle around with the amp for a bit, make sure you get your levels right. The examiner will ask you the 3 pieces that you're going to do, so make sure you know the names, and then you can fiddle around with the amp and you can test the levels along with one of the pieces. So the examiner will shove one of the pieces on for you. It's usually coming through a PA system, and you can play along to make sure you've got the volume right for your guitar. Okay, and once you're happy with that, you get a choice of whether you want to do your technical exercises first or your pieces. Now I always recommend you do your technical exercises first. Get those scales and arpeggios done. It helps you warm up to the room. If you've got any nerves, it helps to make them a little bit better. Okay, so get those out of the way first. So you ask for those first, and then they'll ask you whether you want to play with a tick or not, or the metronome. Okay, always do it with the metronome. Practice at home with the metronome, because in the exam what will happen is you'll want to rush through. You want to get in there and out of there as quickly as possible, and when you're playing your scales, you'll just play them so fast you're more likely to make a mistake. So if you have the metronome set for you before you start, it'll keep you in time, it'll slow you down. Okay, it'll keep things steady. Okay, so then once all your scales and your arpeggios and your riff and whatnot are out of the way, your little study, it's time to get into the pieces. Okay, so you might need to switch from one channel to the other, maybe clean to the dirty to get yourself going, and then you can play your first piece. They'll put the backing track on. Now for my exams, whenever I've had an exam or I've had students in for the exams, they don't use the CD. They'll just have it on a little MP3 player plugged into the PA. Well, that's what happened in where I was in Manchester. Okay, so you can play along with it. Make sure you got your music out, because even if you know the pieces off by heart, in the exam your brain might go. Whoop. And there's been times when I've done that. I've forgotten bits of the pieces and I've had to make picks up. So it's always good to have it in front of you so you can have a quick glance if need be, just to reassure yourself. Okay, so once you finish your first piece, while the examiner's writing down some notes, have a quick practice of the next one to warm yourself up for it, and then obviously you'll go through the same again for all 3 pieces. Now once your pieces are done, it's time for the technical exercises, it's time for the ear tests. Okay, so you'll run through the ear tests. Hopefully you'll have practiced these beforehand, you'll have listened to the example tracks that you've got on your CD so you know the format that it's in. I advise you do this so you're not going in there blind and deaf. Okay, and then once you've done those, and your quick study piece as well, if you're doing grade 6, 7 and 8, you'll have your general musicianship questions. And after you've answered a couple of questions, make sure you check the details in the back of your book for what kind of things they're going to be asking you at whatever grade you're doing. Make sure you know all the general things that they're going to ask you before you go in. That bit's a fairly straightforward bit, nice and easy bit. Okay, and that's it. Then you're done. You can get your guitar away and you can peg it out of there. Okay, now you won't find the results on the day. It normally takes 2 or 3 weeks, and then they come through the post. And you can pretty much guarantee, if the envelope says do not bend on it, that you've got a certificate and that you've passed. Okay, so I hope this information has helped you when you're preparing for your exam. So it's really good to know what's going on before you actually go into the exam, what to expect. It makes it a lot less stressful. And at the end of the day, the examiner wants you to pass anyway. They're there, they want you to play your piece as well. So they're not there to fail you, they're there to pass you if they can. Okay, so I hope this has helped. Good luck with your exams. Well, there's a couple of things that I forgot to mention. The first being, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Click on that button above at the top of the page. There's lots of information on here already, but there's going to be loads more as well. I'm slowly working my way through all the Rockschool 2012 syllabus pieces for both guitar and bass, and as I do them, I'm shoving them up for you to watch. I'm also going to be doing individual lessons on each of those pieces as well, showing the difficult parts, how to overcome them, how to practice them and what have you. Also the technical exercises, I'm going to be doing lessons on the scales and the arpeggios and the riffs and the ear tests. How to practice those, difficult thing to do, but I'm going to put lessons up for that as well. And also just lots of general information on how to practice for your exams, lots of stuff. Okay, so if you subscribe, you'll get all that information firsthand and it will help you with your exams. The next thing you need to do is check out my website. The link is in the description below. Now this website is updated regularly. There's lots of information again for your exams, theory side of things for this, written lessons, lots of information about scales and arpeggios and the theory behind them, chords, what makes up a chord, the kind of questions that you're going to get asked in the theory side for the general musicianship questions are going to be in there. This information is just handy to know anyway, just for regular musicians, just so you understand what you're playing and why you play what you play. Okay, like I said, it's updated on a regular basis, so if you check that out as well, I'm sure that will help you. Thanks very much for watching.